This is RiverTalks with Jonathan Brush, President and CEO of Unbound.
So I'm a bit of an odd person, so naturally, I like odd kinds of sports. And one of the sports that I really love is ultimate. Some people call it ultimate frisbee, although a true ultimate player will tell you that the frisbee is not to be tacked on to the end there. The game is ultimate. And ultimate is played by throwing a disc, not a frisbee, a plastic disc back and forth in order to score touchdowns. And there's rules that go with that. But let's for a moment assume that you, like most people, are not well versed in ultimate and playing ultimate. And so you're a reasonably athletic person. You like to run around. You can throw things and you can catch, but you've never played this game before. And so you're walking along and there's a beautiful grassy field and there's a bunch of these lunatics out there hucking plastic, throwing a disc back and forth. And they're down someone and they say, "Hey, would you like to play with us?" And you say, "Sure." And so you're in the game, and all of a sudden there's a whole language that you don't understand. People are in your face screaming, "Force home," and "Force away." And every once in a while somebody will yell, "Up," and then they'll say, "Guard against the huck, no huck, no huck." And they'll have all these phrases. And then you catch the frisbee, catch the disc, and somebody's in your face going, "Stall 1, stall 2, stall 3, stall 4. And so in panic, you throw that thing away and it hits the ground and immediately it's a turnover and your teammate's like, "Oh man." And then they're throwing it again. And the next time you catch it, you take a step to kind of get away from the guy that's in your face. And they're like, "Nope, that's a foul." And they take the disc away from you as a turnover again. And things are confusing and things are chaotic and things seem to be annoyed. Everybody seems to be annoyed with you. And all of a sudden, you're wishing you never played the stupid game. In fact, you're wishing you never gone for a walk today. And you wish that you just stayed home and read a book. In other words, it's no fun if you don't understand the rules of the game, right? Playing Ultimate's not interesting if you have no idea how Ultimate is played. Well, let's make it a little worse. Let's say you're sitting on the bench after you just had this, you've played and you didn't do so well. And the captain of your team comes over and you overhear them talking to somebody else. And they're like, "Oh, the losers that come out here today, they're just, they have no skills. They can run and they can throw and catch, but they can't do anything they're supposed to. And they don't know how to play defense and they don't know how to play offense and they don't know how, they're just useless." Now, is your response to that, "Oh gosh, I need to get better"? Or was your response to that, "What a bunch of jerks. Who wants to play their game anyway?" Now, if that seems like a bit of an extreme story, I think I want to tell it to you as an illustration for what I see happening all the time with young people. And so what happens is that we have young people who go through a system, a traditional education system, that is mostly unchanged from the way it's worked for hundreds of years. And so they're taught how to run and throw and catch because people have been running and throwing and catching for years. And then they turn 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and all of a sudden they're out in the world and they're playing the game, and everybody's upset with them because they don't know the rules. And they're like, "Why can't you do this? And why can't you do that?" And Gen Z and millennials they don't work and they're lazy and they're incompetent and they got their faces stuck in phones and all this kind of stuff is said about them. When at some level, the problem here is that nobody ever explained the rules to them. Well, let's go back to our original example. What if you had a captain on that Ultimate team and she came up to you and she said, "Hey, would you like to play Ultimate? Let me explain to you the rules of the game. Let me show you how you set up a good offense. Let me show you what we're trying to do on defense. Let me show you how to score, and let me show you how to defend the other person from scoring. Let me show you the kind of throws that you're going to have to do. You need to be able to throw the disc forehand. You need to throw the disc backhand. And there's a couple other fancy throws that you might learn later. Let me actually teach you there's a couple ways to catch that are better than other ways, and it'll boost your success. And oh, by the way, when you catch it, you can't move. You have to stop and throw it before you run again." Now, would that mean that you were an excellent Ultimate player, that you would strike fear into your opponent's hearts when he stepped in the field? No, absolutely not. You wouldn't be any better than you were before. But now you would know what to do. You would know how to apply things you already knew, how to run and throw and catch, and you'd figure out how to throw a disc, and you'd figure out how to catch a disc, and you'd figure out which direction you're supposed to run and how you're supposed to run and what you're supposed to do. Now you can decide how much practice you need to put in and how good you want to be at this game and how deep you wanted to practice and participate, right? But you'd be able to understand. You'd understand what's going on. Now, move that example over. I find that we don't take the time to teach young adults the things that they really need to know in a world that's dramatically different than the one that existed even when I was a teenager, young adult. We live in a world that's marked by constant change and constant technological disruption, speed of communication, instant access to answers. That simply was not the case when I was in high school. And so we do two things. We miss teaching young adults some of the very basic skills, basic financial skills and living skills, and the kinds of things that before were handed down naturally through families and communities and somehow has often been lost today. And then we're annoyed with them when they don't understand how to be good husbands and wives and fathers and mothers and members of the community and church members and all those things. But we expect them to learn it from osmosis, and we never really taught it to them. But we also have failed to teach them the new skills that they need to know. Skills like realizing that we live in a questions-based paradigm instead of an answers-based paradigm. Skills like the fact that action now is more important than planning, that there are things that you have to fundamentally understand about truth in order to make good decisions with your life. Skills on how to live well, and ultimately the difference between thriving and succeeding. My personal bias, of course, being towards wanting to thrive. We want to teach people how to live meaningful, useful lives. When we tell people they want them to succeed, we're often telling them we want them to be rich, famous, or powerful, which is not necessarily bad. It's just that those things are hard to obtain. And if that's the end goal, it almost always leads somebody to have an empty and unfulfilling life. If we teach somebody how to thrive, to be able to accept responsibility and own their purpose in their life, to focus on serving others and really work on having good relationships, and understanding all this in the context of truth and a purpose that says that there's something bigger than themselves and they're serving someone who is bigger than themselves. That's the kind of skills that when people know that, they learn how to thrive. And when we teach young people how to play the game, when we make sure they know the rules, when they know how to run a good offense and a good defense, then they tend to become a lot better players.